So before the movie started, we had a Moana commercial that pointed out the obvious fact that tiny distractions can be a big issue, the normal preview thing that says turn off your phones and stop talking, and even the goddamn production logo told us to be quiet. Shh. And yet throughout the entire movie, all I saw, half the time, were people's cell phones flashing and people whispering throughout the entire thing going, what is she thinking? Why did she do that? I don't know. Why don't we fucking watch it and find out? Hi, I'm Tyler, and I'm here to let you know that The Edge of 17 is no perfect movie. So in The Edge of 17, a young girl named Nadine, played by Hailee Steinfeld, has had a pretty difficult life, lives with a single parent, a lot of people bully her at school, and she starts to act out when her best and only friend Krista, played by Haley Lou Richardson, starts dating Nadine's older brother Darian, played by Blake Jenner, and she's really upset by that because he's nice to everyone except her. But she does begin to find peace in her life when she starts hanging out with a classmate named Erwin, played by Hayden Seto, and she vents her frustrations out in front of one of her teachers, played by Woody Harrelson. Kelly Fremon Craig makes a fantastic job in her directing and screenwriting debut, oddly enough. She does do a good job at using the camera to make us feel the isolation that Nadine's feeling. She uses a lot of long shots of just Nadine in the frame to really illustrate the distance that she feels from the rest of the world. And then in the next scene, there's a medium close-up shot of just her face, and because we're right in her face, we feel the discomfort that she's feeling in the moment. But what also really surprised me about this movie was just how realistic the dialogue was. Because in a lot of teen films, teenagers in the movies just speak a lot of random slang that no one would ever use in their life, or they would use a bunch of words and sentences that really only adults would understand. But throughout this entire movie, listening to these conversations, it reminded me a lot of conversations that I used to have with some of my friends. When people get all nervous in this movie, they actually repeat themselves. They try to trail off the sentences, and they're awkwardly trying to change the subject. And little details like that make each scene feel a lot more genuine. What I like about Hailee Steinfeld as an actress is that she's good at choosing roles that have similar family-based dilemmas, but are also very different in how these characters confront their problems. In True Grit, she takes justice in her own hands in the Old West and hires bounty hunters to catch her father's killer. In Pitch Perfect 2, she tries to set herself apart from her mother's legacy as an a cappella singer by writing some of her own material. And in one of my favorite movies of all time, When Marnie Was There, she learns how to cope with the fact that she was really young when her biological family died and that she'll never really get to know them very well. And in this movie, you can really feel for her when her best friend, the only friend that she's really ever had, starts dating a boy who is nice to everyone except her and just so happens to be her older brother. And while you don't agree with her choice of words when she decides to lash out against people, she's always in a situation where if you say something, anything, you're just going to come off as being rude. But if you say nothing, you're only going to feel worse because you're bottling up your own emotions. So you can always really understand what she's going through, even if you don't always agree with her choices. What makes every character in this film feel realistic and identifiable is that even in just one scene, any character can turn from someone who's darkly funny and deserving of sympathy to this bitter and despicable person at just the right moments. Even though Woody Harrelson is constantly sarcastic and insulting towards Nadine, and in all honesty, he says one or two things that, if any teacher said them, they would have gotten fired. But he always says these things because Nadine keeps making excuses for not doing her own schoolwork, and he does begin to respect her honesty when she does question why he's always disinterested in his job and seemingly doesn't have any work ethic. And even with her older brother, I thought he was full of shit for most of the movie, considering he's nice to everyone except Nadine. But when he is nice to people like Krista or his mother, who's also played very well by Kira Sedgwick, he is believably sincere and is willing to keep his own feelings to himself in order to please his mom. And later on, you do kind of start to wonder, gee, maybe Nadine's bitterness is the reason why he's so cold to her. And even Kira Sedgwick has this one moment where she looks at Nadine and goes, I know your father isn't here right now, but I will say this. He'd be really disappointed in the way you're acting. And at first I was just like, jeez, that is cold. But at the same time, you're like, yeah, you're still right, but it hurt. And you do understand why Keira Sedgwick said that, but at the same time, you feel just as disappointed and horrified and really betrayed that Nadine was feeling. My only minor issue is that I felt like the advertising built up Woody Harrelson's role in the movie a little too much. I mean, he is a crucial element in the movie, but he doesn't really have as much screen time compared to everyone else. But that's really about it, because aside from that, The Edge of 17 is one of the most brutally honest coming-of-age films that I've ever seen, thanks to really smart direction, really strong performances, and a darkly funny but also just as equally heartbreaking script. And for that reason, I'm going to give The Edge of 17 a 4.5 out of 5. Guys, thanks as always for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, check out my other reviews at NoPerfectMovie.com. And like I said in the intro,